Well, it is Good News Friday, and I know you're all waiting to hear what Larry has to say about the week in review. Oh my goodness, there was a lot of news, and I'm talking about before all of this disruption in our lives and in the lives of the folks in Israel. I'm so sad about this, Larry. I'm assuming you've been following it. Any thoughts before we get to our general conversation?
Well, I have a very large family in Israel.
Yes.
And we're in touch with them, sometimes hourly and minute by minute. And thankfully, nobody was involved. But, talking to my sister-in-law, my wife was talking to my sister-in-law and her brother's wife. And she's telling us that almost everybody they know in Israel have had a relative killed or injured, and it's really hard on them because it's such a tight-knit community. Right. I had very strong business connections in Israel because for years my company, I was part of an Israeli company that had acquired my company, and have very, very close friends who everybody's stunned.
Right.
I guess this was the intention, Hamas. It is what it is.
If you can figure out I don't know what they expected to accomplish. It seemed like to me, the best explanation is it was a suicide mission.
No, they want to, what they want to do is interrupt the move to friendship between the Arab states and Israel. Right. It was a very important moment for them because Saudi Arabia was about to come to terms with Israel, and it would have isolated them very much. This, has turned the tables on that process. And by the way, I want to give a shout out, to Jared Kushner. I don't know if you saw the interview of him on Lex Friedman, but
I've watched the first hour. It's outstanding. Everybody should watch that interview.
Yeah, a lot of people wrote him off and called him all kinds of names because he's the son-in-law of Trump. And I'm not a Trump supporter.
Yes, I know.
But he's a very impressive young man, and he was extraordinarily thoughtful about how he went about the Abraham Accords, which were, at the time that he came into office, it was considered just an impossible task, an impossible mission. And he accomplished it, and so one has to, when one listens to him and one puts together what he achieved, and then one listens to how he went about it, you realize that this is quite a talented young man, an extraordinarily talented young man, as quiet and as unassuming and as sort of retiring into the back, as he is.
Yes.
Anyway, that's what this attack was all about, to completely destroy and disturb the relationships that we're building. And the situation with Turkey had become much better. The situation with the Gulf states had definitely improved dramatically. Right. And it looked like Saudi and Israel were going to sign. This has put a kibosh on all of that. So that ultimately was their intention. Who knows where it goes? But, it's way above my...
Being the optimist that I am, I believe that the Saudi Arabian folks know that this agreement that they were about to sign is in their best interest, and they'll continue down that path when the dust has settled. But in the meantime, it is definitely an incredibly sad situation, and our prayers are continuing for all the folks that especially the innocents that have been harmed by this. So
and will be harmed.
And will be harmed, absolutely.
This is not over, and it's going to be for those Gazans trapped in Gaza. It is really, really, really tragic because they are such an incredibly vibrant people. They have got, I mean, I know a lot of West Bank folk. I know a lot of people from Gaza, and these are, people who are, I mean, they are very closely related to the Jews, I have to say. And we form really good relationships with them on an interpersonal basis. So I just don't understand how they can get into this mindset. Anyway.
Yeah. So if we take just a slight left turn, or right turn, I don't know, we're going to take a slight turn. The market today, which I missed, I can't believe how badly I missed it, but so did everybody else. Not one pundit, not one analyst guessed that there would be the flight to freedom today. I'm sorry, the flight to safety today. Nobody. I mean, I read them all in the morning, Larry. I spend an hour and 10 minutes every single morning before I do my show trying to read everything I can possibly see that happened overnight, and nobody got it. But boy, the flight to freedom was huge. Gold up.
Flight to safety.
Flight to safety. I keep saying it wrong. The flight to safety. Gold up 4% on the day. Oil up 5%.
I will tell you, Nick Colas called it.
Oh, I missed that one. Okay.
He called it. I was listening to him last week. I follow him, and I'm subscribed to his letter. And he called it.
Okay. Did he call that it would be the Friday before the weekend of the incursion? Yes,
not exactly. I mean, he called gold.
Okay.
And that was a call that I noted because, he's somewhat of a student of gold, and he talked about, the gold spike in the 80s that I was in South Africa, in the late 70s and early 80s, and I was in South Africa at the time. And so that was the first real sort of spike of gold.
Right.
Went from, tens of dollars to $800
right.
overnight. And he spoke about that, and he spoke about what's happened in the interim. And he talked about this is a time to look at gold. So, but this is the market recognition of what I've been saying for a long time. Our modern economy cannot sustain the level of interest rates that we're going to have to see to finance, the bonds that have already been issued and will have to be issued. Something is going to break. And when something breaks, gold could well be, the
haven, eh?
Yes. Nick talked about the tonnage that is absorbed. There are only 4,000 or 5,000 tons of gold mined a year.
Mm-hmm.
Half of that goes to jewelry. And the other half, there's some industrial use, but the bulk of it is absorbed by the central banks. So the amount of buying that needs to happen to impact the price is relatively small.
Oh, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So we could see a run in gold. We
Yep.
could see a significant run in gold. I've been disappointed by gold so often because so many people have said, now's the time, now's the time, now's the time. It didn't happen in 2008. I somehow don't think it's going to happen this time, but I think bonds are going to drop.
Bonds are going to drop. You believe so? This is the one place, Larry, where I think we have the greatest disagreement, because I can't picture bonds continuing to have an interest rate more than 2% of real interest. So right now we've definitely got more than 2% of real interest, because I think you and I agree that inflation is back down to around 2%. So if inflation's around 2% and you've got bonds, the 10-year bond at 4.4, 4.5, 4.6, then you're talking about 2.5% of real interest. I don't think that's sustainable. And I did report this morning, I don't know if you saw my show this morning, but I reported this morning that, we have the Japanese massively selling off bonds, US bonds. We have the Chinese massively selling off U.S. bonds, and we have our own Fed massively selling off U.S. bonds. So at some point, any one of those three could reverse. The Fed would only do it for technical reasons. In other words, because they believe they need to stop the tightening. But the Chinese or the Japanese might get to a place where they feel they need dollar reserves again rather than not.
Chinese can't buy bonds because they don't have any money.
Money, right?
The Japanese, look, the United States is going to have a massive issuance of bonds.
Continuously, yes.
Yes. So how do they stop selling bonds?
Right, they can't. Yes.
So there's going to be,
unless they print money, they can print money to buy the bonds.
They can certainly print money to buy the bonds, but then inflation will spike very dramatically. So you're caught, Randy, in a vice, and the vice is bonds are going to drop. If bonds drop, what happens to interest rates? What is
the opposite? Yes.
That's the problem, and that's the problem I've been speaking about for months and months and months on this show.
Yes, I know.
We face a real problem.
Yes, and you know that I partially agree with you, but then
the sunny side of you.
But the other side of it is also the massive amount of cash in reserves. So it might be sitting in other places right now, but you have the baby boom. I just did that report last night, Larry. I don't know if you saw that one. You should see that one if you didn't. But the baby boom is sitting on this massive amount of wealth. Yes.
I'm a baby boomer.
I understand that.
I'm at the very beginning of the baby
boom. Yes. I'm just a couple of years behind you. But anyway, but it's an extraordinary amount of wealth. And I think that all markets have these places beyond which they can't go. So 2 weeks ago, or a month ago, it was gold at over $2,000, and then gold got way out past its skis and dropped all the way down to 1880. Then it, because of the fear factor, it's back up again. You've got the crypto that gets out there and then it falls, or it falls so far, then it goes, whatever it happens to be. Crypto. I'm always confusing crypto and the coin. But anyway,
Bitcoin.
I don't follow it actually. I just watch it.
So
you have these places where people are like, no, 6% interest in this market. No, I'm buying that. And I'm going to buy 30 years. I'm going to buy 10 years so that I've got it forever. I think there's limits to what economically is realistic. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, well, for me, every time the United States has got into this pickle, the only way out is, right through the front door. And the front door here is to, issue those damn bonds. And when you issue those damn bonds, the price goes down and interest rates go up. So
it'll be a really interesting. I think we'll really see this play out over the next 6 or 9 months. I think we'll begin to see whether this is going to be, and a part of it, as which we do agree on, part of it is money supply. And so at a certain point, if the Fed continues to be this restrictive on the money supply, that I think combined with what you're talking about, that's the one I worry about more than the other. All right, let's move on.
Yeah.
Let's move on to some Tesla stuff. Okay. I do want to spend 1 minute on oil. Today, the oil went up like crazy, like 5%. And a lot of people are like, oh yeah, well, that's also a flight to, well, it's not a flight to safety. Oh, that's also because of the war. No, there's nothing that changed in the war. What happened was that according to CNBC, that's where I'm getting this particular piece, is that the Biden administration decided to fine 2 tanker, I don't know if it's 2 specific boats or ships, or whether this is 2 shipping companies, fine them big numbers because they were moving Russian oil in a way that was not okay under the rules. And so that was going to further restrict the amount of oil that was going to be available to the world. Is that how you see it? And if so, what is the Biden administration thinking to do that this week or even this month? It seems like a really bad time to make that decision.
I don't agree. I think they have to enforce this. They have to enforce this embargo whenever and however they can. They're either going to have an embargo or not have an embargo. If they're going to have an embargo, they have to enforce it. That's my view. I don't think that the disruptions to the oil price, the daily beat of the oil price, is that important. Most of the oil that feeds into our gasoline supply, which is the key component of the inflation, most of that is not affected by these spot rates.
Right.
They are, for the most part, contracted out for some time. Now, if the oil spot prices stay high for any extended period of time, and I'm only talking a week or two, then it can have a feed-through impact. But right now, gasoline, the refiners are losing a lot of money on refining gasoline. I mean, a lot. And so I think the gas price is going to have to go up anyway. That's what I think is going to have to happen for reasons completely exogenous to the spot price and to the global oil price. So I think we're faced with the reality of the inflation rate being reported not moving down in the next couple of months for that reason.
Hey, I'm good. As long as it stays around 2%, I'm fine. All right, then. Let's talk.
The Reserve Bank are talking about one further hike. And I don't think that that's a good thing. I think that's a really bad thing. I think my own view is that we should settle at 2.5%, not at 2%. I think it's fine to settle at 2%, 2.5%, and let the current situation play out.
Right.
The biggest single issue this Reserve Bank faces is the issue of funding this gigantic deficit. And I think they should be focusing on that, because at the end of the day, that's going to have more impact than this, inflation rate that's moving in. I mean, the inflation was clearly a factor of the pandemic and the massive printing of money. And, the other half of that is funding the deficit that results. So they have to tackle that.
Yes.
I know I keep coming back to it, and it's been.
Oh, I know. Listen, I'm okay. I totally get it. But let's talk a little bit about Tesla. Tesla had so much news this week that we'll probably be going on for an hour if we're going to cover all of it. But I thought that the most interesting new thing, which just happened over the last really 48 hours, is that Elon Musk, Lex Friedman announced that Elon Musk will be appearing on his show. And Joe Rogan, I don't know if Joe Rogan made the announcement or somebody made the announcement that Joe Rogan apparently and Elon are talking about him being on the Joe Rogan show. Do you think this is related to the CT, the Cybertruck coming out? Do you think it's related to FSD, maybe almost there? Do you think it's Optimus? Do you think
none of the above?
None of the above. You just think they're ready to do it.
None of the Elon appearances on any of the media have ever been related to events in Tesla. I mean, I'm going back 15 years. I don't remember. I mean, the only media appearance that had anything to do with Tesla was, when he did those interviews around the IPO of Tesla.
Oh, okay.
And he did those specifically because of the IPO. But since that time, he has had many public appearances. He loves them, apparently.
Yes.
And none of them have had to do with a specific issue around SpaceX or around Tesla. By the way, SpaceX had a magnificent day today. I mean, they're launching this was it Psyche? it was quite an impressive launch because it's a first deep space probe for Falcon Heavy. Anyway, we're
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, my response to you is no. I don't think this has a Tesla impact. I think we may not be on track for an end October event at this point.
Oh, I agree with that.
Which is a huge disappointment to me.
Okay, because you were having plans. Are you?
No, I wasn't having plans, but I had, I'd originally set back in February the date as being September launch.
Yeah.
Then I saw we weren't going to make it, and then I said October launch.
Okay.
But now it's clear it's not going to be October, and we're looking at November. That's a disappointment. I would hope to have been November. But having said that, I think the 4 million battery, 4680 battery announcement,
yes,
I think it's very significant. So, I know some people are talking about 20% per month increase, but actually it's not a 20% per month increase.
Oh,
I think we're looking at, a rise that is really getting, I think you look from month to month, it's getting beyond that 20%.
I see.
And I don't know what that production is going to look like once they start adding new lines. So I'm thinking that we're getting to the breakthrough. I think we're at the breakthrough moment.
Yeah, so
it's certainly exponential. It's certainly exponential, which means it's not, linear 20-20-20.
Yeah. I have a lot of experience with manufacturing plastics, whether it's injection, blow, extrusion, and I've been involved in going to and working with the factories in China, in Taiwan, in Japan when I've been manufacturing products overseas. And, so I know a lot about various kinds of lines, but making a battery is a very, very different kind of line than any of the things that I've been associated with. Apparently, it must be extremely complex to get up to speed. And apparently the speeds that they're looking for maybe are bigger than a lot of folks have in the past. So I'm not sure what Brian Wang and I were talking about the other day is that at a certain point, the engineering is figured out. At a certain point, you're not talking about engineering issues any longer.
Talking about process.
You're just talking about process. You're talking about moving it up a little faster, and making sure you're still getting production. Yeah.
Engineering and process are integrated.
Of course.
Because
I'm talking major engineering. That's right.
Yeah. I think we're seeing a bunch of S curves.
Yeah.
Of different components and different elements of the process. And then I think we're going to start seeing S curves of additional lines coming on.
Yes.
So I think we're at a point where we reached in 2018, I think, with the battery supply from Giga Nevada, where all of a sudden our rate of spoilage dropped dramatically, our rate of production increased dramatically, and all of a sudden, from a point where we couldn't produce one battery pack, we're producing, X a week, and exponential rate. So I think we're at that point. A lot of people are very critical of Tesla because of the slow ramp of both Berlin and in Texas. In fact, I just saw a note come from, fairly knowledgeable Tesla guy. But I think that the huge break, the problem has been 4680, and I think breakthrough point, and I think we're going to see a huge turnaround, and everything turns on it because the semi, the production line in Nevada, the Giga, the Cybertruck, and the Y for the US. So everything turns on getting this thing right.
Well, and once it's running, the other thing is, Larry, I don't know if you've thought about this before, but once with the lower cost of lithium and the lower cost of other components, and with the ability to make it themselves, and you add in the money from the federal government, those batteries are going to be going into those cars at about zero. They're going to be about free.
Yeah, well, we should all live so long. I've heard these stories before. Yes, and maybe, and no. I think, getting to that point is really tough sledding. And then when you get to that point, there are other problems. So, yeah, let's see. I mean, all I know is that the Cybertruck is late, and
Yes.
it's late for the late, and it's late for the late. So,
Right. But Larry, think of it this way then. Right now, they're probably paying $85 a kilowatt hour from these various different guys. Let's say they only match that. Let's say all they can do is match that $85, and you take away another 45, you're paying $40 a kilowatt hour for those batteries. So the difference between buying it from CATL or LG and making it themselves, even if it's the same cost, it's a massive savings in terms of the cost of what's going into the car. So when you see the discounting that's taking place, if Elon and everybody else says, look, we know we're going to be making enough batteries to take advantage of the IRA discounts, eventually, like I said, it's just going to be printing money.
Yeah, I mean, time will tell. Elon's been proved right so often, and we've been proved, well, not we, but the doubters have been proved wrong.
Yes.
One certainly hopes that he's right on the score, and this discounting has been for a good cause. I'm skeptical at this point. I'm waiting to be proved wrong, as I have in the past. But on the other hand, I mean, it could be, that the costs are reducing at this very significant rate. I just think that this is going to be a poor quarter, and I think we're going to be unhappy about the results.
Well, let's come back to that in a second. First, since we're talking about the price decreases, we had Tesla lowering the prices earlier this week, which I think are 100% covered by the lower cost of the batteries coming from CATL and LG.
Yeah, the particular price drop this week, I can agree with that. Yeah.
And then they also dropped the lease prices to such low levels. And this is something I recommended way back in the book, in the Elon Musk mission. It has in there, why not do the lease? And then I did a big video about 5 months ago. Why not do it with the leases and just go crazy on the leases? Because why? Because listen, maybe you thought of this already. It's on a 2-year lease with $4,500 down. Tesla is going to get $10,500 for that car, plus the $7,500 from the IRA. So they're going to get $22,000. If they do a 3-year lease, they get $16,500 plus the $7,500. They're at $24,000 for the Model 3.
Look, I agree.
They get the car back.
I agree with you about what you're saying. And 2 years ago, I was with a senior Tesla person who was talking in this exact language.
Oh, okay.
And, the entire of the past year, I haven't said anything about it, but I was thinking, why don't they do the lease thing? We were talking, and he said, look, if demand flags, we have a lot of levers we can pull.
Yes.
It seemed to be the obvious lever.
Right. To me. So, yes.
Yeah. So I agree with you. I mean, I'm right there. I don't disagree.
All right. So then also, I already asked you, we already talked about the Cybertruck launch. So I'm thinking my new date is November 16th. I think that's the day. A week before the Thanksgiving break, I think is when it'll be.
That'd be good, because I'm hoping that the Starship gets launched on roughly the same date. So I'll zoom up to Houston, Texas.
All right. So
I'm convinced I'm going to drive there again.
All right.
Cool. But I enjoy that drive so much.
So what is your number for Wednesday, Larry? What is the margin and what is the earnings per share?
I think the margin is going to be below 16.
Wow. Well, you and I are way off on that one. I'm at 19.
Yeah. You're at 19, huh?
19, yeah. Yeah. And what about you?
I'm really worried about the margin. I think it's going to be 16. I think
And what's your earnings?
that's very difficult. It's a guess as to what's happening in energy.
Energy, right.
70, 69-ish.
Okay.
Because, I think energy is going to be a upside surprise. I think auto margin is going to be a downside, although auto margins generally weigh much more than energy. But energy is a freebie.
Yeah.
And I think charging is going to be very good. I mean, services are going to be very good. So I'm still at the 70 mark. I think we can squeeze it out. So I don't know. What are yours?
So I'm at 84.
Whoa.
Yeah. And a big piece. So the street is at 74.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to tell you exactly what Troy Teslaike's number is because he doesn't want it to be, but let's just say it's higher than yours and lower than mine. So that's just to give a couple of points. Most of my additional money actually is in energy and services. So I'm thinking that energy will be a bigger surprise. And it's it's one of those deals where once you get your margins done, then the money you start to make is a lot.
But honestly, it's a gamble.
Sure.
The reason it's a gamble is because you have no idea how the contracting is being done.
The bookkeeping, yes. Yeah.
So it's such a gamble that I'm not as bullish on that, because a lot of people are being bullish on that just to make up the number. I think we're going to miss big. I'm ready for it. I'm still accumulating Tesla stock. So
you're okay with it being low? Yeah.
Yeah, but last quarter, I sold short. And I think I may do it again this quarter. I may be caught short, but who knows? I mean, the point is,
before the earnings call, before the
the
day after is always so bad.
Yeah. And one of these days I'm going to actually lose money on that bet. But it's been such a good bet for me again and again and again and again.
Well, Larry, I think the other side of that, just a thought, for those who might be thinking of taking your advice, by the way, it's not investment advice.
Not advice. Well, but that's the last thing I would do. Unless you're prepared to lose money and you're very experienced at doing it and you're paying attention.
Right. But wouldn't you, in order for that deal to work, don't you need to have at least some run up and ahead of time?
No, the macro is really bad. I mean, I don't think you're going to have a run up in Tesla stock with, where margins are, where pricing is, and so on and so forth. I think the market needs very badly to be convinced that, Tesla's on track, and I think they're not. I don't think there's going to be, for that to work, there doesn't really have to be much of a run up. Actually, Tesla stock standing at a pretty good number right now.
Not bad. It should be higher, but it's not bad.
You could argue that it's had a run up in a way.
Right. Okay. So you've probably heard that I am predicting 300 by the end of the month, right?
I've heard that prediction before somewhere.
Well, I made it the last time that I made that prediction. Nobody believes me, but I have not predicted a specific time other than one time, and I missed it by 90 cents. And that was the day before earnings last time. And it got to $2.99 and 20 or 12 or something cents. I mean, that's darn close, Larry.
Yeah, but it was there for a nose breathe, and then
still fair. I still think it's okay. Anyway,
if it gets,
and the only reason it went down was because that's when that rating agency came in and downgraded the U.S. Economy, or the U.S. government, or whoever they downgraded, and so everything went away. Anyway, let's not talk about that anymore. All right, but that's my deal. 300 by the end of the month. All right. Do we have here? Oh yes, what do you think about the wrap business?
So the what?
The wrap.
This is great stuff. I mean, I'm already thinking what I'm going to have my Cybertruck wrapped in.
Okay.
I'm very seriously thinking of trading in my 3 for a Y.
Okay.
So I'm already thinking about that and wrapping and so on. I mean, my X, my X is set. I'm very happy with the X.
Yes.
My wife drives the 3. I think she could use the Y more advantageously. And, I'm interested in I'm waiting for a refresh on the Y, and then I'm probably going to do that.
No, you just said it. I wasn't even planning to discuss this today. I have been saying now that there's an Osborne.
It is an Osborne.
It's got to be an Osborne. If I was buying a new 3 or a new Y, I would definitely be waiting. I would not, after I've seen those changes, not a chance I'm buying the old
More
one.
so for the 3 than the Y.
But the big thing, Larry, and I don't know if your wife feels the same way, but my wife has, from the very beginning, she said the only thing that she has an objection to on the Y is this wasn't as smooth. It wasn't as comfy as her Lexus that she traded in. And so the new one apparently is going to solve that issue.
I don't know that it does completely solve that issue. I mean, it's possible.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, it'd be interesting to see how well they do. It's be interesting.
And of course, I want the 3 plaid.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
Okay, Gary Black says that the capacity in 2024 will be 2.7 million. Have you done any of your estimating?
I have. I think we'll hit 2.5
in shipments.
In shipments, yeah.
Do you agree with Gary in terms of capacity, though?
Yeah, I do. I think it's there. I think that the 4680 problem will be behind us. I think this 4680 problem has overhung the whole of this year and half of last year. I think it'll be behind us. I think we'll be off to the races.
All right. And so you and I are like almost brothers on our estimate then. I was thinking between 2.4 and 2.5, depending. There's a couple of things that could throw it up into even bigger numbers, but those are the two that's where I think it'll end up.
The 2.5 will maintain the 50% growth rate, very well. I did the numbers. And the other thing about the 2.5, is that I think that it'll be at fairly consistent prices. So, but Tesla's getting to the outer limit of the TAM. Well, they broke the limit on the TAM on this size car and this price model. And the price that they've been doing has been to offset the fact that they won't have a car to fill the gap.
Right.
People don't realize it's a very strategic move.
Yes.
It's a very important strategic move. So I'm pretty comfortable about the 2.5 million number next year. Particularly, I think the 3 is going to do very well. The refreshed 3 is going to do very well in Europe and in China.
I think it'll do well in the United States. I don't know how they'll make more of them anywhere, but I know they'll make some more of them because they'll be more efficient. They'll be able to push through more on the same lines they have now. But if they actually started having a demand for, say, another couple of 100,000 next year, I don't know where the heck they'd make them.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. That's true, because there's really only 2 sources right now, and that is, Fremont and China.
Oh, right. And so you have a situation with the interior of the United States. You have the folks in the great heartland are truck and sedan buyers, but 3
is ideal for them,
and it's ideal for them, and
they'll buy it once they start buying the Cybertruck.
Right. Well, and also because the price is now coming down at 259. Now that 259 may not hold, but with that kind of a lease, oh my goodness. But they weren't as interested because the gasoline costs half of what it does in California. So you don't have quite the demand in Missouri as you do in California.
don't know that the gasoline saving is a factor in the value statement of the EV. I may be wrong, but
I think so. I've been in the bicycle business my whole life, Larry, and it's amazing to watch what happens as the price of gas goes up. Everybody, on the spikes, like, we've had so many times, when that price of gas goes up, people come flying into bike shops and buy every bike they can see in order to be able to commute to their job. They think they're going to do that, then they don't, of course, but they think they're going to save money on gas. Seen it over and over my whole career. So it's a factor.
That's news to me. I didn't realize that it was such a big issue.
Big issue. Well, all right. I think I've covered our list. Was there anything I didn't cover that you care about?
No, I don't think so. I think one of the most important issues for us is what sales look like next year, both in terms of numbers and price and margin. And I think it's looking good. I think we're going to have a good year next year. I think it's going to be a struggle economically. I think we're going to see continued very high interest rates. I think, Tesla's move on the lease is a very important move indeed. But I think Tesla's going to have a good year next year. And I think, the Cybertruck is definitely going to have an impact. We haven't spoken about what we think the numbers are going to be on the Cybertruck. I think that's an important consideration.
The reason I don't talk much about that, Larry, even though I've made some predictions over the last couple of days, is because I don't think even Elon knows. Now, maybe they've made enough of them on the line to be able to see that, no, there's not really these problems and that it should ramp normally. Maybe he'll get that question on Wednesday. Maybe he'll answer that question on Wednesday or when he's on Joe Rogan. I'm thinking that even the engineers may not know yet how easy the ramp is going to be.
He will never discuss volumes or production on a podcast.
Right.
He won't. I mean, it's illegal anyway.
Yeah. So anyway, my point is I don't think they know yet. They might, but I don't think they do. So my number is between 150 and 250. So I gave myself a lot of
150 is high already. So,
you think so? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, their ramps have been, outside of China, the ramps have always been lean. And, who knows? It could be batteries. It could be a lot of things. But so far, if you look at Berlin and you look at Austin, both ramps have been disappointing.
Well, yes, but I think you may have heard me say this, Larry. Maybe I've even said it to you. I truly believe that they realized by May, June, that there was not going to be enough TAM at the prices that they wanted to sell them for. And so they just stopped that ramp. They said, we're not putting on the third shift. We're not putting on the fourth shift. We're not putting on the second line, whatever it happened to be.
No,
they're like, no, we're not going to go there.
Well, they definitely reduced the line speed or the number of shifts in Berlin. No doubt about it.
Right.
But I'm not sure they did try and reduce the line speed in Austin. But certainly they may have reduced the ramp. Anyway, you may be right. And, a lot of people have spoken disparagingly about the ramps. But I think it's possible that it was all a commercial decision because of the problem of, the model. Look, if there's one thing Tesla has to get right, and that is the number of models that they produce. I think this idea that the Y and the 3 and this new next gen, unless it's true platform and that we can get 2 or 3 models on it, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I think 2 or 3 would be fine. I think you're right. I think that's about, of course, we'll have the truck. I would like to see a separate, more normal truck, but it might be maybe a smaller truck. People have talked about that there's not that big a business for the smaller truck. Oh my goodness. In other countries, there's a big business for the smaller truck.
So why can't they make a smaller Cybertruck?
They might, and there might be no reason not to. I'm not sure. Yeah.
I love the Cybertruck. I think the Cybertruck is going to be a huge success.
Oh, I do too.
Huge success in Middle America too.
Right. All right, Larry, let's wrap this one up. It has been a thrill, as always, to have you on board. And even though sometimes you don't agree with me, I keep having you back.
I don't often agree with you.
so hit like, subscribe.
I think it's my age, Randy. It's my age.
Age, just becoming disagreeable. Is that what it is?
No, it's I've got all that many years more experience than you.
I see. It's the additional wisdom.
Yes.
Knew that's what it was all
along. All right, Randy. Have a great weekend.
You as well. And to all of you out there, thank you for watching. And it's been great talking to you.